Is it?
Alright. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Hitting the clouds.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome the fuck back.
We returned.
Oh my god. It's
We're
been... How
blasting
long has it
again.
been since the last podcast?
I don't know,
Must be a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, like at least definitely more than a week.
Yeah, definitely more than... we just got really busy. I'm sure if you've seen our Instagram, you know that we were making a short film.
Yeah.
We were working on Fresh Meat. So we were really busy with that. I had midterms for my final year of college. Yeah.
Yes, Derek's almost
I'm
done.
almost fucking done, dude. I had midterms, so that was keeping me busy. Quentin was being Quentin.
I'm designing stuff for the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh for I can't honestly we are going as Ragnarok. I'm almost
This is for
100%
Nate's company.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's got two, and they are run out of the same office by the same people.
Okay.
So
Nate,
I
if
get
you're
them.
listening, we're not trying to make fun of you. Just...
Nate, no, really, legitimately, I don't have the stuff in front of me right now.
Yeah.
It says it on all the papers. It says at the top that, and I'm pretty sure it's Ragnarok. But it could easily be FTLO.
Yeah.
But I've been working on that stuff.
Fuck the little...
Fuck the
opera.
little... No! It's for the love of theater.
Fuck the little omniboid.
No! Fun to...
Love.
Ladi-oho.
Adi-oho.
Um...
Forget those little...
No! It's for the love of theater, damn it! Stop fucking with that.
But you said it was FLTO.
FTLO.
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 Fuck
For
those.
the love of theater.
Oh.
Stop making it negative.
I'm not.
You keep saying fuck the.
Okay, well then, French bread those little...
French tie little Oreos.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, Tim.
Yeah. Obviously.
Anyway, yeah, I've been working on that stuff as well as some personal projects. And just looking for places to more places other than around to work and learn. And
You want to try that
do
again?
things. Well, I mean, they're like internships and apprenticeships and
You're
things
looking
like
for
that.
more jobs, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but they're like learning-y jobs. Like they're not, it's not just like a.
I've been job hunting too. I applied to a couple jobs here. Applied to some jobs in Savannah, Georgia. So we'll see how that goes.
Savannah Jorge.
Savannah Jorge.
Interesting place, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. That's it. That's what we've been up to since then.
Well, other than that,
Well, hold
on. We have had the time to hang out and do other things, such as watch movies, like one you keep telling me to watch and I kept not watching, Gorilla Interrupted.
Yes, Gorilla Interrupted. That is the Red Letter Media movie.
Their first beautiful little
their
film.
First movie that they made together. You can buy it online on their website, and I would highly recommend it. And I would highly recommend you get the version that comes with
They did a little like
the movie and the documentary called How Not
to Make a Movie.
How Not to Make a Movie, which is it's a documentary about the movie, but also like how they met, their movies that they were making before then, and then the making of the movie, and then what happened after.
It's a sweet insight into making your own like independent movies. And stuff.
It was literally it was four of them. They didn't have a crew. It was just the four of them with like a camcorder, and they had like they went to like Home Depot and bought like construction lights. Like it was like these big. They didn't have any like panels, and also keep in mind this was
They did it in like a week.
they made the movie in a week, and also keep in mind this was in 2001, 2002, very early 2000s. So this is like
Yeah, they didn't have all access to everything everywhere.
and they live in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. Well, Jay lived in Wisconsin. Mike and Rich lived in
Milwaukee?
no, in Chicago.
Oh.
Mike and Rich lived in Chicago at the time. It's a really inspiring movie, a really like charming movie. Obviously, it's not on a technical level. It's not great because it's no budget. But the story.
It's still pretty like well constructed for the most part.
It's a really well constructed movie. It's very self aware. They're not stupid idiots that are trying to make this movie like seriously with like no budget. Like it's like they're very self aware that they have no budget,
which
and
is
that,
refreshing.
yes,
I think.
they're very self aware that they have no budget and that this is a crap. I mean, the movie's about aliens coming to Earth to take one of the main characters.
The battle pack.
This battle pack, and then there's also a punk rocker and a guy who can turn into a gorilla and a guy who's a like fraud safari hunter.
Yes.
Like the plot is dumb,
It's
but
all
that's
over
the
the place.
point. And it's very funny. It's very
It's
charming.
a goof.
And it's very inspiring for someone like me and Quentin who want to make films, low budget films.
The independo stuff.
Yeah, independent films. People like us who don't have a lot of resources and don't have a lot of money.
No.
These guys wrote this script in a day or two, filmed it in a week, and then made it. And also, when you buy it online, it's the remastered version, which is also a lot better than the original version.
Mm-hmm.
But even
You've
still,
explained this to me, yeah.
yes, but even still, it's still great.
It's a lovely thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great film, and we watched it on the eve of shooting.
Did we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Didn't we watch it the night before?
No, we watched it.
We watched it the day of the rehearsals. I'm sorry.
Yes, we watched it when we auditioned the actors.
Yes.
Audition/rehearsal.
We made the blood for them the day before.
Yes. And then we watched more Red Letter. I think maybe you were thinking of we watched Red Letter Media
watched...
that night when we had the Pabst Blue Ribbons.
Oh yeah, we watched those two episodes.
I don't want to like talk about the flaws of it because obviously when you watch it, it's like
You'll see them if
you'll
you
see
watch
the flaws. I mean, like it's not a great camera. Everybody's screaming.
No.
The lighting isn't that great. It's the VFX aren't great, but that all adds to the charm.
And
of the film.
it's really it's what they had.
Yeah.
We're fortunate enough to have like a tiny bit. Like we have some. They're good. They're good for what we want them for. We made some nice shots with those lights. They're good lights. We had one flub, but
well, and thankfully our DP used a lot of like shadow and dark to make it look a lot nicer than and especially since we're doing a horror comedy, it helps.
Smart stuff.
Yeah.
Good eyes.
Yeah, he's got good brains and good eyes.
A big, powerful brain and two giant orbs to
Two
see
giant-
and receive more light with.
Giant orbs, it's a problem.
It is. It's a little unsettling.
Yeah.
Looking at his giant orb-like eyeballs.
But yeah, I would totally recommend anybody who's an independent filmmaker watch those movies. I want to watch the rest of their movies. I wanted to watch Space Cop for a while.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to watch. They have a movie called.
Yeah, now I want to go watch them all.
I think they have a movie called Little Frenzies, or it's The Frenzies, and it's like a throwback movie to like movies like Gremlins or like Ghoulies or
Oh my God, yes.
Critters. It's like a
weird creature.
Yeah, like little
creature feature.
little monster movies. Yeah, like little. And so I wanted to watch that because that sounds great. What else do they have? A horror movie, like a serious horror movie called The Returned, I think.
Oh, I think we've talked about this at some
I don't
point.
remember. They've showed when we watched the episodes. They showed clips of it. And I want to watch that. I want to watch all their movies. I love those guys.
Yeah, those
guys are like
nice and
super,
interesting.
Those guys are like super inspirational for me.
What's nice is that they're just clever about how they did things.
They're just really
and they
fucking
know,
smart. Yeah,
they know, like they've seen enough movies. I mean, that was one thing when we were watching the episodes that they were doing. The one thing I would always say is like about the directors, because they'll review these like terrible. Well, I mean, B movies, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they did one about there was like the Suburban Sasquatch, and they kept cutting to director's commentary on it. And like you look at something like Gorilla Interrupted, and you're like, yeah, no, like yeah, it's not amazing. Like obviously they didn't have, they just had like what they had, but it's still like you could, I still wanted to see it through to the end. Like once it was on, I was like, I don't really want to turn this off. Like regardless, I still want to watch this. But and you see evidence that like they've seen a movie. I kept asking like, has this person seen a movie before? Like when you see some of these like quote unquote like really bad movies, it's like you wonder like, have they seen a movie? Because they make all these like pitfalls and mistakes that are like so obvious to avoid, that seem obvious to avoid when you see them happen.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to see like it's I feel like it becomes less about like what you have and more about how you use it. And that's what I think was nice about watching that.
I feel like it becomes a product of not having enough resources, because this will go into another movie that I watched, which was Ed Wood.
Oh, right. Yes.
I'll just talk about that a little bit. If anybody's never seen Ed Wood, please watch it. Again, very quintessential. Like, if you're an independent filmmaker or like low budget filmmaker, watch that movie, because you'll 100% relate to it. But I feel like it comes. I feel like it's a byproduct of the resources, because what makes a B movie so interesting, or like what makes a B movie so bad, is that it's like the idea that they have is like so high concept, and they don't have the resources to do it, but yet they try to do it anyway with what they have. That's what makes a good B movie so charming, is like it's this high concept movie that should really be like handed to like it should be like a Hollywood film.
Yeah.
But they don't have the resources, but they try to do it anyway. That's what makes a good B movie so charming. So Ed Wood, I bring up Ed Wood because like, again, that was his problem, is that like he had these high budget ideas. Granted, he also probably wasn't the best filmmaker, because one of his first movies, Glenn or Glenda, wasn't a high budget like concept, but he didn't really do it justice. But also on that same token, he had to shoot the movie in 4 days. He had to shoot the movie in 4 days. Had to write the script in 4 days. So again, it's a product of like the resources. Mm-hmm. Like, of course it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, what's he have available?
He's trying to make a name for himself, and he only had 4 days to shoot it. And he's like, well, that's what I got to do. And like, even something like Plan 9, right? It's like you see the process, and it's like that's all he had. So he had to make. He wanted to make the movie with what he had. It's like, and that's why I think like Plan 9 has such a cult following now, because it's a bad movie, but people appreciate like this dude had no resources, no nothing, and he still like made the movie.
So this is the thing. He's earnest, like he's trying in earnest to make that movie. That's camp.
Yeah.
Like that's where like great camp comes from. I'm talking about like, yes, Gorilla Interrupted was a campy movie.
No, I mean,
but like it's
the police costumes. Like when they talk about the police costumes, it's like, it's like, how could you screw up
for the Sasquatch thing?
Yeah, for
Sasquatch. That's what I mean. Yeah, so that's where I'm going with this. Yeah, it's like that is lovely, and I love that.
Yeah.
But the inspiring part for me was to see like, oh, okay, like I don't know, like that is charming and beautiful and fun, but you can also like, if you are clever with like the cop uniforms and the Sasquatch thing, like no police uniform looks like that. Why would you even make that? Like, it's funny as hell.
Yeah.
That they did that. But like, but the guy wanted really badly to make like a meaningful movie, and it doesn't come across that way at all because of certain decisions he made. And you almost feel a little bad for him, because it's like that this is a Suburban Sasquatch movie. You almost feel a little bit bad for him, because it's like, this is totally not what you thought it was. But it's also...
and that's what makes a lot of B movies funny, too, is, like, because you picture it in the written form.
Yeah.
And you're like, this... Like, some of them are just a case of, like, this is what this person thought it would be. Like, we watched Like and Colony, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Another example of, like...
That was
a movie, yeah.
That's on Amazon.
I watched an interview with the director of Suburban Sasquatch, Dave Wascavage, and he was talking about his other movies.
Nice.
And that's the thing, is like all the B movies directors, like you you think like you watch the movies and they're not all like Tommy Wiseau. Like that's what you expect as you're
That's
like
what's so interesting about it.
yeah, as you expect them to be like a Tommy Wiseau or like a Neil Breen where they're like out of their fucking minds. Like they never.
That guy's like super normal.
Yeah, I watched an interview with Dave Scott. He's like totally normal. Or like they're
that's why it makes
the Red Letter
you
Media
wonder.
guys. They're friends with this B movie director Len Kabaczynski, and again, totally normal dude. Like the nicest dude is like super into like kung fu and does like kung fu tournaments. Like has a wife and a kid and like he just likes those guys. They just like the B movie genre. They just like something about it. They like
They're pulled in.
They like the low quality. They like the harshness of it, the independentness of it. Like something about it. They like it.
That being said, I think you can still achieve something that is like genuinely well crafted.
Yes.
And with little, if you know how to utilize it and think around problems, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you can also use that to your advantage to do exactly what we've just been talking about, which is like create really funny, awesome, little, like charming scenarios. Which
if you're smart about it and you know not to take yourself so seriously and kind of realize like this is the budget that I have, this is what I'm doing, like this is what I want to do. You just instead of trying to overcompensate with your budget, like just accept the budget that you have or accept the resources that you have and just make something around
it's
that
not
instead of trying to do something high. I mean, all B movie directors, please keep doing your thing. Keep thinking of these high concept ideas and then like trying to do it with your resources because that's what makes them so charming. But also be smart about it.
Yeah, I mean I don't think that's gonna go away. But I'm saying for like, let's say someone who didn't want to make something that was campy, they wanted to achieve something. They don't necessarily have to reach for that high concept thing. Like
a really like someone who wants to just kind of make like an auteur, like an independent filmmaker. Yeah, I mean, it all just depends on what you want to do. If you again like Len Kabaczynski's, like I like those movies. I like the like 80s apocalypse cheesy genre.
Yeah.
I love like the cheesy kung fu movies. I love the B movie
place
genre.
to live in.
So I'm like, that's great. If that's what he wants to do, that's fine. It all just depends on what you want to do.
What are you reaching for?
Yeah.
And then, but that's what was nice about that movie is it's like they limited themselves and the amount of time they had and stuff, and it's like it's good to see where other people feel that they went wrong or feel that they went right, and you can look at that and in turn like apply that to your own stuff, because then you can avoid certain pitfalls that like may or may not work out great in certain areas, which is nice.
I enjoyed it because I mean, I've been really getting into like independent stuff and like the B movie stuff, and it's kind of just nice to see like you can get success outside of the Hollywood system, because I think every filmmaker kind of starts off thinking like, oh well, it's like Hollywood or nothing, right? It's like, well, if I'm not in Hollywood, well then I can't be. I'm a failure. I can't be a
flipping fraud.
But the more I've watched of like B movies or like independent films, I'm taking like Latin American cinema class right now. Like all these movies that come out like all over the country, and it's like you can be a successful filmmaker. You can be a filmmaker, and you don't have to worry about like being in the spotlight or like being Hollywood. There's professors that are filmmakers. There's people who have normal jobs and are filmmakers and are like getting their kicks. It's like go live your dream.
Get a camera and point it at something.
Yeah, like just you can,
and then hit record button.
There's people who are like independent directors. Like they have other means of making money. They don't just direct all the time. Like they have to pay the bills somehow.
Our good friend Nathan loves to
our Nathan
treat people's pains.
Yeah, he's a physical therapist, massage therapist.
Yeah, he's a massage therapist.
Yeah, he's a that's his day.
He fixes backs.
That's his day job, and he's also an independent.
You go in there with a rickety back, and he fixes it. He
cracks them all up. Takes out your bone marrow.
Smooths out all the crinks.
Takes out all your bone marrow. Yeah, he's an independent filmmaker, writer, playwright, stage director. What do you call a director who's in theater? Just a director?
Yeah, just a director.
Oh yeah, director of plays, director of films, writer.
Yeah, he's
cinematographer,
director
producer.
of stage and screen.
Connoisseur.
A connoisseur, a Renaissance man. If
Yeah,
you
a
will.
Renaissance man.
Yeah, actually, Shiv is premiering right
Yes,
now.
Shiv.
Shiv and the Lost Boys. Check that out at Ragnarok Productions on YouTube and Facebook.
Yes.
We're plugging our friends here,
Plugging our
guys. We're plugging our
friends.
friends because they're plugging us. As funny as that sounds.
They are, yeah.
Not to like totally sideline our discussion here.
No.
I think we should take a quick break, a sidebar.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Let's take a
take a
little break.
2 second to drink a water and maybe go whiz.
Go
And
whiz on the computer screen.
and we'll come back with
Yeah.
some more info.
We'll come back. All right, back from the break.
We've returned. I crawled out of the toilet, back into human life. I was just talking with my hands over my mouth. That was dumb.
It's fine.
We had a nice chat about independent film. That was cool.
Yeah. And now we're going to transition over from independent into
To something spooky and fanged.
something Hollywood, something high budget, something
We talked about large concepts. We talked about large concepts.
Contracept.
Let's talk about something as large as... Fuck. Never mind.
Dracula. We're going to talk about the
Talk
Dracula.
about Dracula.
Talking about the Dracula show on Netflix.
I was going to say as large as time.
What a disappointing...
I know. It was a real letdown.
What a disappointing show.
It was a real letdown.
Honestly. We decided to watch the Dracula. Why did we decide to watch it?
On a whim. We were hanging out one day.
Yeah, we were hanging out and we were like, I kind of wanted to watch it. I think you were. No, you know what it was? We watched The Witcher and then we were talking about vampires.
We mentioned it on the podcast with Emma. And
Yes.
I think we decided that day we were going to watch it whenever she left.
Yeah, we watched The Witcher and I was like,
Without her because she's not our friend. No,
yeah, not our friend anymore. Fuck her.
Actually, I think she's anyway.
We're not. Yeah, we weren't. I wasn't super into The Witcher. You liked it. I was like, yeah, this is fine. And then we decided to watch Dracula instead.
I love vampires.
Yeah, and you were talking about how you love vampires.
Vampires are cool.
Yeah, so let's watch it.
Dead things.
So we watched the first episode and we were like, this is fucking awesome.
It was kick ass.
Yeah,
it was like a sweet movie.
We were like, this, yeah, because this is
They're like an hour and a half long.
This is written by Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss.
And there's the rub.
Yes. So before we started watching the show, that's what I told Quentin was like, I don't like Stephen Moffat and
Derek
Mark
was very
Gatiss
clear.
because I watched Sherlock. I watched all of Sherlock and I was extremely disappointed because this is what Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss do. They hook you in with like the first episode, the first like 2 episodes, and like
they give you a sweet taste of something
those
awesome.
first 2 episodes are great. Those are like great episodes, and then as you keep watching, it turns into shit. It just becomes.
They overbloat it and like make it weird.
I mean, they did that with Doctor Who. They wrote season 5.
I never watched
Doctor
Who
with Matt Smith. I used to like Doctor Who, but
my brother.
Yeah,
really
they would
likes it.
because they make it too complicated, and they're flexing their writer brains, and they're like, oh,
Ooh, my writing brain.
I told them, I was like, there's gonna be some dumb twist where it's like Dracula, because that's what they that's a staple in all their shows.
Oh,
it's a dumb twist.
Quick, right here at 25:25. Spoiler alerts.
Oh yes, spoiler alerts. We're gonna talk. Well,
yeah.
not right now, but this is what they do. Like Sherlock, it's like, oh, it's Sherlock. There's a girl on a plane, and Sherlock's on the plane, but then it's like there's no plane. It's just all in his sister's mind, and his sister talked to Moriarty for 5 minutes, and they concocted this whole Saw-like scheme, and Redbeard wasn't actually a dog that Sherlock had. It was actually his friend that got murdered, and it's like, what?
You're doing this funny wave thing as you talk. It's very...
Or in Doctor Who, where, I don't know. Doctor Who is a whole other story. They do that shit all the time. But, like, I was like, there's going to be some dumb twist where Dracula is, like,
silly twist.
A secret government experiment or something. Like
lo and fucking behold.
Yeah, lo and fucking behold.
He's turned into a government experiment.
Yes.
He's discovered 500 years later.
No, okay, well, let's talk about the first 2 episodes really quick.
That bothered the hell out of me, though.
Let's talk about those first 2 episodes, because those first 2 episodes are great.
Those first 2 awesome movies.
Yeah, basically the first 2, because I was gonna say that's why I brought up Mark Gatiss, because it's British TV, and whoever knows, if you've never seen British TV,
it's long.
It's
fucking long.
A season is 3 episodes, and those 3 episodes are an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So you're basically watching 3 movies.
Yep.
So those first two movies we watched basically were great.
They were fucking awesome.
Those were like two of the best like vampire Dracula stuff ever. The first episode is basically the book. Well, actually no. All three are their book, but like that first episode is basically the whole like Renfield in the castle. He gets trapped in the castle.
They explore a lot of the myths, like a lot of the just like basic myth about like, hey, this is the stuff Dracula does. These are the things people know about Dracula, which was an awesome like intro because the way they did it is it's very chilling the way it's constructed because it's a guy like telling a story. And
they do the whole thing of Dracula being old and he's taking his life force.
He's like absorbing,
he's becoming
this guy.
young. You know, Renfield
learning through sucking people's blood.
Walking around the castle, discovering, realize he's trapped. Mm-hmm. We have to talk about. We really need to talk about Dracula because is this the best depiction of Dracula? Dude, one of the best depictions of Dracula.
I can't say because I haven't seen him in other things
besides Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, well, like I've seen. I mean, I haven't actually watched that like through and through. I've seen parts of that.
I watched that a couple days ago, and it's great. It's classic Universal monsters. It's great.
I know Dracula from Castlevania, and I know vampire myths from like video games, Dungeons and Dragons, and then other just like stories about stuff. So as far as vampires go, I don't know like as much as I love them. I know a lot of like weird other fiction that takes stuff from the Dracula myth. And so when I watched this, it was fun for me to see where all of the things that I like got their inspiration from. Because it's like, oh, vampires do this thing. It's from Dracula. Dracula does this. That's why these vampires in Warhammer or something do this. Which is fucking awesome.
But I don't know what this actor's name is. I forget, but
I've seen him before. Yeah. And
Klaus Kasper Bang, Danish actor and musician. Known for the role of Christian in Ruben Östlund's 2017 film The Square. In 2019, he was Sasha Manfor last season of The Affair.
He is so... This was my thing with Dracula. Like, the whole overarching thing with Dracula, this kind of upset me with how it ended, was he's a villain. He's evil. He's objectively an evil, bad guy.
Yeah.
But the way they write him, he's so fucking lovable. He's just so clever and devious.
And he's having so much fun. That's the thing. That's the thing that I love about this Dracula is they made him like he's
enjoying himself.
Yeah, he's like having so much fun. That's what makes him so lovable, and you just want to. He like chews up the scenery. Every scene he's in, it's like he is just like
he's everything.
Maniacally evil, but he's having like the best time being maniacally evil. And you kind of like cheer for him a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. It's delightful to watch him like outmaneuver everyone and cunningly overcome. Because like you'll watch like for example the first episode, he this Van Helsing nun.
Oh yeah.
She knows all the myths about him, so she's able to keep him out of her little abbey or nunnery, I guess.
When we say Van Helsing nun, we literally mean she is the granddaughter of Van Helsing. We're not just saying Van Helsing like she's a vampire hunter nun. She's literally the granddaughter of...
She's a normal nun, but...
She happens to be the granddaughter of Van Helsing.
Yeah, she's a Van Helsing, yeah. So she's versed in vampire lore.
But I got annoyed. I was annoyed when they first said that, but... She's one of the best characters.
She is definitely my favorite other than Dracula.
Yeah.
She's like, it's literally just her and Dracula. That's the show. Yeah. Everybody else is inconsequential. They're just fodder for Dracula to feast upon.
Yes.
Which is always fun to watch.
Yes. All that stuff is great.
So she outmaneuvers him at every turn. And he gets frustrated. And it's like, oh man, he's not that big of a bad guy. But he still fucking overcomes and tricks her.
Yeah.
And it's fun because like, I don't know, watching him, he plays on... It's almost like he can tell that she's too strong for him, like intelligent. Like he plays on the people around her and all of their like weaknesses and insecurities. Like he plays to all of their fears and stuff. So I don't know, there's some grotesque pleasure to be gained from watching this, devilish villain pluck away at the humanity. Like he reveals the humanity of people and that we're monsters, and it's the monsters, like it's the like sort of like the rough nature of what it is to be a human that he kind of uses against us to our villainy against us for his own goals, which is
Yeah.
interesting to watch him like reveal that. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's what was fun about it.
Yeah,
to me.
and that first episode, the first episode basically goes through all of that. If you're familiar with Dracula stuff, like, and then by the end of near the end of the episode, we go to the nunnery where we meet granddaughter Van Helsing.
So many of the little
And
myths
like
come into play.
it gets so violent and grotesque, and like
He's a wolf, and then he's
they introduce like necromancy basically, where it's like Dracula bites people and like they're dying, but then when they die, they become a vampire.
He does this weird, this some sort of like undeathification.
Oh, Jonathan Harker is in the show. There's like two different characters in the Dracula myths. Jonathan Harker, I think Jonathan Harker and Renfield are combined in this show.
Okay.
There's like two separate characters, but I think they combined them in this show. So then, and then the episode ends on a cliffhanger, the first episode, and we were like, "Oh shit, this might actually be good." And then the second, and then
he gets the nun. He gets the Van
right,
Helsing
yeah.
nun.
So
he bites her.
It ends with the girl Mina, who is Jonathan Harker's wife, and the nun. They're like backed into a corner, and then it kind of cuts from there.
Dracula tricks them and is able to get at both of them, and he drinks her blood.
Oh yeah, and they introduce like pages of the Bible, like putting that
to keep him out.
Yeah, putting that in a circle, the cross.
But that's the thing. He wears Jonathan Harker's skin to trick Mina.
To trick Mina. Yeah, and
Because
it's Jonathan
she thinks
Harker
it's him.
telling this story, but he's like already basically dying and dead.
Yeah, he's been bitten. He's been turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. The whole bride, Dracula's bride, man or woman, they're always a bride, and like he has this obsession with making the perfect bride, someone else that can be a vampire that's similar to him.
Oh god, remember that scene? Remember that scene in the first episode where it's like the vampire baby, and it's like that was fucking terrifying.
It was terrifying.
That was like there was like a Jonathan Harker gets locked in this cage thing, and there's like a dead baby in there because there's these other vampire ladies that are like feasting on them.
He's trying to make because like the Van Helsing woman talks about it at some point. Dracula is the only vampire of his kind. Most other people that become vampires die because they essentially just become feral.
Yeah.
He's the only one that has control of his senses for whatever reason, and he uses that to his advantage.
You said for whatever reason, and we'll get into that also because the show
doesn't
explain.
Yeah.
So that was a creepy scene. That was terrifying because it's like a dead baby vampire. And
it was
it's
sweet.
Like, yeah.
The first episode is like a fucking thriller.
Yeah. But then we get to the second episode, and
which was also awesome.
I think the second episode is the best episode.
Because that's the one where you really I went into it so much a second ago, but that's the episode you really get to explore him.
Yeah.
Because the first one is him growing to power, and you get to explore how scary he is and the mysterious nature of him.
Yeah.
But then the second episode, we see him in full form, dude.
So the second episode, if you've ever read Dracula, or I've never read Dracula, or you've ever seen the movies, the second episode is basically all on the boat. And in Dracula, in the movie or in the books, I know the boat thing isn't very long. Where he's going on the boat to England. He has his coffins, his Transylvania soil, and they're going to England. And that there's usually nothing happens on the boat. Even in like Nosferatu, he just like kind of kills the people on the boat, and that's it. The boat is basically turned into an episode where
it's sweet.
Where Dracula's on the boat. There's all these people on the boat from different backgrounds, different reasons why.
All very cultured, useful individuals.
Yeah.
Scientist, a noble.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So and the reason that, if you're not familiar, the reason that Dracula wants to basically like kidnaps Jonathan Harker is not just to drink his blood, but also when Dracula drinks the blood, in this show at least, when Dracula drinks the blood of somebody, he kind of takes in their memories, their essence, their knowledge.
Exactly.
So he wants to bite Jonathan Harker because Jonathan Harker is an Englishman, well-respected Englishman, and
he's an Englishman who understands English law and English society,
and he knows how to speak English dialect.
Exactly.
English dialect.
That was a big thing. Dracula can't really speak English in the beginning.
Yeah, because he has the Transylvanian accent, and then as he bites Jonathan Harker, he gets a normal British accent.
Well, he couldn't speak English. I mean, that's the other thing is there's a whole scene in the very beginning when they meet, and they have a hard time communicating. And then partway through the first episode, they have a dinner, and suddenly Dracula's speaking perfect English, and Harker's like, what the hell? Like, how are you doing that?
It's great.
And he's like, oh, I'm learning so much from you, because he's not actually whatever.
Yeah. So in the second episode, we're kind of like, the episode starts off with him walking down the stairs and he's talking to the nun.
Yeah, the nun. Suddenly we are out of the abbey. It just starts in Dracula's castle with the nun.
So we're like,
she doesn't have her habit on.
So we're like,
reason.
what the fuck? Did she get bit? Is she a vampire?
Big note, no habit. She
What?
didn't have her habit on.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
she's never.
She just has her hair down for some reason.
Yeah, her thing or whatever.
It's a habit.
The nun thing. I know, but it's people. You said habit, and that's not a common thing that people.
Well,
know.
that's what they're called. So
her little coat draped. It's
called a habit.
Little cowl. Anyway,
a habit.
A habit.
This is what they're called. It's like a hat.
So she doesn't have her goddamn halibut on, and we're like, okay, what the fuck is happening? So then it cuts to the boat, and then everybody's getting on this boat. Dracula's getting on this boat. We go along, and Dracula is kind of starting to pick all these people off, and
he's talking to him. He's exploring.
He meets this. He sits down with like this old lady, and they start chatting. You find out that, like, oh my god, the old lady knows him because
they met years ago.
When she was like
a girl.
She was like 20.
Yeah,
and she's like, how the fuck are you alive? And was she German? She was
from Bavaria.
She was from Bavaria, and then he bit someone from Bavaria.
Yeah, so he could speak German.
And then then as the story goes on more, you find out that all these people are on the boat because Dracula secretly was their benefactor and was inviting them on for different reasons.
Yeah, they're all there on the invitation of some lord.
Yes.
And it turns out that he is the lord.
Yeah, and then they all discover together that it's all the same lord.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, that's fucking weird. And there's also this like cabin that nobody's allowed to go into besides the captain.
It's a sick person.
It's a sick person, quote unquote sick person.
Quote unquote.
But before we go into the reveal, really, I know I'm jumping all around, but like,
we don't have to like to explain the entire episode. It's
I
like
know,
a
but I
movie,
wanted to talk about the characters in this show, because in the episode, because the characters in the episode are so
they're fucking cool.
Great. Every character in this episode is really great, has their own motivations. You come to love each of these characters. Like,
it's really funny because in the beginning he says like, don't grow attached to anyone in this story.
Yeah,
and because he's telling the
woman. You do. Like, there's this
guy.
There's this kid who sneaks onto the boat and he uses the name of a dead guy that we saw get killed because I think he also became a vampire.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
There's like this guy who doesn't have a hand. He has like a little patch thing, and he's kind of this like
he's the cook,
big Russian dude. There's the captain who is great and lovable.
The captain was really nice.
There's this like guy who has this new bride, but he's secretly gay. With this
this
black
he's
guy.
Got his servant.
There's the Indian doctor and his daughter. I forget their name, but they were great. He was like one of my favorites. He's awesome. Who else was on the boat? There's like the crazy old man who's like, he's like women bring bad luck.
Yeah.
Like that was great.
There's
so
the
many
German woman.
Yeah, the German woman. There were so many great characters.
And then all the workers.
On there. Yeah. Each one lovable. Each of them, you're like, oh my god, I don't want any of these people.
We get to spend a minute with them throughout the whole thing.
Well, it's basically a movie. It's like an hour and a half long movie, so like you really get to enjoy these characters and spend time with them. By the end of the episode, you find out that the sick person in the cabin is actually the nun.
Yeah.
And that the nun and also throughout the episode they're talking back and forth.
Yeah, they have this whole crazy exchange.
He's like telling her the story.
They're playing chess.
Yeah, they're playing chess and she's winning, quote unquote winning, but then you find out that she's actually the sick person in the cabin and that Dracula's actually just been like drinking her blood.
So
basically been feasting on her this whole time.
The whole thing is he it's like the vampire's kiss or something. And like he's able to put people into a dream state.
Yes.
And so she thinks because then she starts to ask him, how did I get here?
Yeah, it was like, why aren't we in the nunnery anymore? She's kind of realizing like, oh fuck, wait, we're
just like we did in the beginning of the episode. Wait, how did we get here?
Yeah.
She's like, wait a minute, how did I get here? Yeah. And then she wakes up and she's like, oh fuck, I'm a vampire now.
And it's like I said, it's the same thing like in the books where it's like he has his coffins. He has like all his coffins in the boat. So then when he goes to England, he has plenty of his Transylvanian soil to lay in. and basically all these people were just like snacks for the road.
They were, yeah, they were. Well, because she asked.
Oh, and
him,
also he wanted to become more
exactly, yeah,
like knowledgeable.
He makes
yeah.
a joke about like, had I just got on any boat, I would have had the cultural like knowledge of any Russian workerman. I needed to know like society of England, like how to maneuver my way through society.
Yeah.
He also does this great thing where he sets her, Agnes, I think her name is, no. What is her name? Anya or
Agatha?
Agatha. That's
Yeah,
what it was.
Agatha.
It's Zoe. She becomes Zoe, and then she's Agatha. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
Yeah. Agatha. He sets her up to be a vampire.
Yeah.
Like he makes everyone think she's the vampire, and she's because everyone's noticing that people are dying on board.
Yeah.
And Dracula's just winning everybody's trust the whole time.
Yeah, never.
Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
nobody suspects
People
him.
start dying on board, or people go missing, and it's a boat in the middle of nowhere, and people are like, "What the fuck is going on?" Yeah.
And this charming asshole that
yeah.
nobody suspects.
Yeah, nobody suspects him. It's
fucking brilliant.
so then by the end of the episode, Agatha tricks him, and
They
set him on fire.
They set him on fire.
They set him on fire.
He survives.
He survives the
Dracula.
captain, but then the captain blows him up on the ship with
they
Agatha.
Do this, they do this sweet like I'll stay behind and blow myself up. And
yeah,
Agatha
they kind of
stays.
start to fall. You can kind of see they start to fall in love a little bit. The captain and her. I think a little bit. I think because they were on the boat for a long time. To us, it didn't seem like it was quick, but they were on the boat for like weeks. So
They
like,
were on the boat and she was in a room asleep the whole time.
I know, but
and
I'm
she
saying
didn't
like
talk to
after
him
she woke up, I
once.
think they started to like.
I don't think so.
catch a
I
bond.
think that they both realized that they were both dead, regardless. Like he had the whole thing about like captain goes down to the ship. That's his livelihood. If you think about it at the time, like if he loses that ship, he's fucked. So he may as well die with it. I think it was more so that they're both sitting there like, dude, we both have to die now because we've trapped. Because like they think that they've trapped Dracula somehow on the boat, they think that they've defeated him, and their whole thought is this is essentially a plague ship. They can't let any of it get back there because if there's Transylvanian soil in England, he'll have a place to rest there. And if anything of his gets there, he'll have some way of getting into England. Like there are all these weird little rules about like that. That's why it's so specific that this boat gets there. And they start like throwing the dirt overboard so that like he has no dirt. It's like very important that the boat blows up. But he's fucking on the boat. That's a big thing. Is he's actually still there and he kills the captain and they think it's all lost. And he pulls this shit where the captain's dying, and Dracula thinks he's killed him, and he looks at Agatha and is like, "Just keep him talking."
Yeah, keep him talking, and then fucking goes into the deck and blows up the boat.
And it's
and then the other two of the other guys, the guy that took the dead guy's name, and then the guy with the
chef,
the
they
hand,
become pals.
They become buddies, which is great. That's like one of the best
Sweet
things in the movie.
relationship.
They're kind of going away in a little rowboat, and they're like, "Well, now we got to continue the story. We have to tell their story." But little do we know, Dracula got into his little coffin.
Dracula fucking survived.
And into his little coffin, and like he was flown down to the bottom. So then by the end of the episode, he comes out of the coffin.
There's this sweet fucking scene where he gets out of his coffin.
Comes out of the coffin. It starts like walking through the water and comes up on the shores of England. And we see like the old church. And this is where
such a cool shot.
This is where
for like a minute.
The show
It's really cool.
became bad because we were like,
it was awesome.
We were like, this is great. Like
it was so fun because we're sitting here thinking he's lost everything.
Yeah.
We get to watch him climb back to the top. We get to watch this bad. We're sitting here like, yes, he gets to take over England with nothing. It's gonna be so much fun.
And then a helicopter whirs over and like a spotlight shoots down him, and then like FBI, like fucking army soldiers, like come out of vans and they start like pointing guns at him, and then
Who else but Agatha?
shows up, like comes out, and she's like, Dracula, what took you so long? And we're like, and then the episode just ends, and we're like,
what the fuck?
we're like, I was just like, I fucking knew it,
dude. I looked at you and was like, this is exactly what you said was gonna happen.
Yeah, they fucking called it. So then the third episode.
It was hard to fucking get through.
Yeah,
I finished it.
You finished it. We watched half of it together, and I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is
No.
so bad. And I had to go home anyway, so I was like, forget it. And then after I left, that's when you finished
finished
it.
it.
Yeah, because you were like, well, we only have a half. Because I didn't realize there was only 3 episodes. I thought there was more.
I didn't either. That's why I finished it. When
Yeah.
I looked and saw that was it, I was like, I may as well just cap this
Yeah.
off.
So the episode started off good.
It was kind of so.
It started off
It
interesting.
redeemed itself because the third episode starts with it's just Dracula in this dude's house, and it's like, oh fuck, and then you kind of figure out that like he's been like through the night he's been feeding on people enough to kind of figure things out. He's sitting in this guy's house. He just ate this dude. It's the modern day. It's today.
You find out he kind of maneuvered his way out of that situation where he ate somebody and then kind of like disappeared in bats and like he got away.
He pulled some Dracula shit.
Yeah,
It was
and yeah,
sweet.
he's in this guy's house and he's like fucking with this woman and he's like talking about the modern day and like
So we kind of got what we wanted in that it felt for a while like because what was so cool was we get to watch Dracula take over England with nothing. Mm-hmm. Now he's so alienated from it because it's 500 years in the future.
yeah.
That would have been not 500 years.
It was like 200 something years
yeah.
in the future, something like that. 230 years?
Yes.
I don't remember. Yeah.
He makes a joke about like it's been 500 years, 600. I slept in but that's from I think that's when he became a vampire the first time.
Yeah.
That's my bad. But anyway, it's really fun. It feels cool because like, oh, okay, this could be interesting.
Yeah.
But then it takes some weird.
Yeah, it started off.
It starts
it
to
started
fall
off
apart.
interesting. Like, okay, this is cool. He's wearing like a suit. He's
Oh.
talking about like this woman's house being like this is a great house. But he also understands that like because it's like this like some poor person's house, and he's saying like this house is great. Like I would love. This is like the most beautiful house I've
Every
ever seen.
emperor that he ever met would
Yeah,
love
but then
it.
he also comments on how he understands that this woman is poor though.
He makes this. It's a great quote where he's like, "I knew that the modern world would bring wonders. I didn't know it would make them ordinary."
Yeah,
And it's like he's like, "Holy shit!" Like this.
so
is insane.
he's like holy shit! Like this person's house is great, but this
It's like
is
full
the,
of glass and
but this
metal
is the
and
but
like.
but this is a but all this wonder is like a poor person's house. And
Exactly.
it's like we were like, oh, this is gonna be like it's also gonna have some great
Because
commentary.
it-
Like this is gonna be really cool.
It's great commentary on like consumerism and stuff, but also it was fun just from from watching it standpoint because it's like, okay, he's out of touch, but not stupidly out of touch. Because he's not a dumb person.
Yeah.
He's just old as fuck and doesn't like the world has changed fast and
Yeah.
it's very different. And so that was really refreshing. Like they kind of kept this feeling of like,
and again, he's having so much fun.
he's ecstatic because he's like it couldn't be
Yeah,
more
he's like playing with
complicated
the
now.
light switch, and he's like, I like the sound. He's not like a stupid person, like what?
Yeah.
What? He's like, oh, this is great. Like
What I love is like, yeah, he doesn't feel dumb. He's like, I know that I could figure out how this works. I just don't know right
there's
now.
that scene when on the beach, and he's like, give me that camera. Like someone's recording
Oh,
with
yeah.
like a modern day like camcorder, and he's like, give me that camera, and they're like, how do you know that's a camera? And he's like, I know what a camera is. I'm not dumb. I know I'm in the future. Like
Yeah.
I know things can change.
Well, because there were cameras back then, but now he's like, this is wildly different. Like
Yeah.
the cameras they had were
But
garbage.
he's not stupid. He still knows it's a camera. Like he's like, I'm not surprised that it's changed in 500 like 200 years.
That's
or
what
whatever.
he's like. You guys were quick. You guys were fast.
Yeah.
Like you made so many changes.
So that's how the episode starts, and we're like, okay, this could be good.
it
This
takes
could-
a total
This
left
could be
turn.
great. And then, okay, so then he bites. So then he's in this house, and they're like about to tear it down with a
Yeah,
bulldozer.
they're like capturing him.
Yeah, and then Sister Agatha. Well, her name
Zoe,
her name is
name is
Zoe.
Zoe
It's her
now.
great
Yeah,
niece.
yeah.
Agatha
Yes,
was her
yes,
great
yes,
great
yes, yes.
aunt.
Yes.
So, but it's the same actress. So
yes, exact same
It's
actress.
the same actress.
Yep.
Because that's what you do when you want someone who
Yep.
it's like their ancestor.
Well, I
You
really
just-
like that actor,
You just the
too.
same. Yeah, she's great. But it doesn't have that. But it's
But,
different
yeah, you're
personality than Sister Agatha. Sister
Totally,
Agatha is like
completely
we didn't mention
different.
this. Sister Agatha is like super sassy, super to the point.
She's a
like,
fucking badass.
Yeah, she's just a like total badass.
super religious, and she does everything for everyone else.
Yeah.
She exists for the world around her. She doesn't.
Zoe
she's not
is just
selfish.
like passive and boring.
Zoe's
like,
a bit of a baby.
Yeah.
Zoe's a huge baby.
and granted, you find out she has cancer, but
which is
but she's not. But still,
I would be pretty
it's
upset.
A boring character. But so yeah, he bites. Zoe walks in, he bites Zoe, and then we find out Zoe has
Yeah.
cancer because
Yes.
he tries to bite her, and then he
that's why she's so okay with trying to.
yes, because he spits out the
Makes him
blood.
sick.
Yeah, it makes him like vomit because she has cancer because she's sick.
It's a death thing.
Yes.
He can't drink dead things, and
Yes.
technically she's dying. So
Yeah. So then he gets kidnapped. He gets taken in.
yeah, they take.
But
him.
then the decides to take a quick
just
detour
completely turns.
into a detour. We go to a nightclub.
So you know what was great? Netflix shut down for a second when this happened, and when it started up again, we both like I legitimately thought for a second we were watching a different show.
Yeah.
Like it
That's
until
the
I
thi-
saw the name Jonathan Harker, I was like,
Yeah, so we cut to a nightclub, and we just see, like, this dude going to a nightclub with this girl that he likes, but she doesn't like him, and he's like... And it's...
yeah,
and
he's like, yeah.
we were just like, what? Did we just watch it? Did we accidentally click on a different show? Like,
was
what is
so
this?
weird.
Like, the only thing that made it Dracula was, yeah, the guy kept getting a phone call from Jonathan Harker,
Yeah.
and we were like, did Jonathan Harker survive too? Like, what is going on?
That was yeah.
So, and it just becomes a completely different show for, like, 5 minutes, and we're like...
It was more than 5 minutes.
Like-
dude, it was like a solid 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, like
of
15,
just,
20
like,
minutes of just them
complete non
at the
sequitur,
nightclub
like-
with these characters that we don't know or don't care about. Like,
They never get extrapolated on.
yeah, that's the thing.
We
is
don't
like
even get their names.
the level of what we talked about in the second episode, where it's like we actually get to spend time with these characters on the boat. We don't get that in this third
Gone.
episode. Yeah, that's
Gone.
like completely gone. So then he finally like goes to this hospital, and it's the Jonathan Harker Foundation.
Yep.
That's who he was getting a call from.
Started by the Van Helsings.
Again, it's basically this secret government facility that was their plan was to kidnap Dracula and then have all these donors to keep feeding him so then they could study him.
They wanted to weaponize Dracula somehow.
Yeah, and then also Zoe wanted to cure her. She thought it could like cure
Yes.
her cancer or
Yes.
something like that.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So they introduce all this and then immediately take it away when Dracula is like, "Oh yeah, I called my lawyer on the iPad." And
That felt so dumb. Why would he have a fucking iPad? Why would they?
Well, they
give
gave
him
him
an
an-
iPad?
yeah, why would you give
and
him-
Why would they give him the Wi-Fi password?
yeah, wasn't the
That
Wi-Fi
was a
password
plot
Dracula?
point. That was a plot point. Yeah. That was the whole plot point.
Yeah,
was
he-
that he just guessed the Wi-Fi password.
Yeah,
That's such a.
and so he
weak-
gets a lawyer, and then basically the lawyer is like, "Well, you can't keep him in here. He has rights," and that would have been. Well, they mentioned this great thing about Dracula has rights. They mentioned
yeah.
a thing where it's like Dracula has rights, and I was like, that should have been an entire half-an-hour episode. That would be a great thing to delve into.
Well, because he
and,
mentions like nobody has rights. Rights don't exist.
yeah, like
and
Dracula mentions nobody has rights, and then he says Dracula has rights. But that just would have been a great episode of just like
They
the
were
entire
keeping him there
episode could have
against
been
his will.
the entire discussion of does Dracula have rights?
That's
As
the
a-
thing. They kept opening up these cool ideas. Like one thing I thought of, and this is a reach. Like this is kind of me playing devil's advocate, but like how they brush through all the stuff when it gets modern. That almost felt like how little attachment we have to each other nowadays. I think compared to in the past, where we got to spend all the time with the old characters. I don't know. Like it felt like they could have gone in a lot of cool directions.
Well, that's
but
why
they
I
just
don't like the
didn't.
model of British TV of an hour and
Yeah.
a half episodes. It's like, because they could have done
can't
all those
explore as
things
much.
in half-hour episodes. They could have done these things in normal episode length.
It would've
Certain
been
shows, I'm
cool.
sure it works for. I haven't seen a show where it works. The only British things I've seen is Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat. But I'm sure there are...
Dude,
there
watch
are
the Frankenstein Chronicles.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a British show with hour and a half length that it works, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, it was made for this. It
Watch
works.
the Frankenstein Chronicles.
Okay.
That's a good one. It's
I'll-
like 12 episodes. I think they're 45 minutes.
So then, oh yeah, and then so that scene ends with Dracula giving her some.
Yeah, he gives her his blood and does this whole thing about like
he's talking about like it's in the blood. Like
learn
you
how to
can-
read blood.
Yeah, learn how
Blood
to read.
is-
Learn how to read the blood. It's in the blood. That's how I know everything is in the blood.
Yeah.
So then Dracula gets free, and then it
And-
cuts to a couple months later, right?
I can't remember.
I think it's like a couple months later, and all of a sudden Dracula has a penthouse, and
Oh, so that was a thing the lawyer mentioned, that he had some sort of. This was another thing that felt very bullshit, and it was very. This wouldn't make sense.
he's been like the
He's been
lawyer for-
accruing money this whole time because he's technically been alive. So his
Yeah.
bank account never shut down.
Yeah. Which doesn't make any sense. How is he accruing income?
Yeah,
How's he getting income?
they I think the guy, he had a bunch of land that they sold that was in, and he's like, we knew, Dracula created this plan which was like, when did he have the foresight for this?
Yeah.
To lay out some
would he
weird law for
Yeah.
for his lawyers to be like, hey, in the event that I pass out in the Atlantic Ocean for 200 years, could you sell all my land?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so then it cuts like a couple months later, and he has like a penthouse, and he has like workout equipment, and he's using Tinder to find like his victims.
I actually thought that was kind of clever because he makes the
well,
joke
you made a
about...
joke. You made no. It was I was talking to Haley on the phone before we started the third episode, and she made a joke about that, like on the phone. We like Dracula using Tinder, and like before we started watching the episode.
He says in the episode people can order their food in. They don't even have to go out to get food. Why can't I? And that's why he's using like Tinder is like Grubhub for him.
But it's still dumb. And he's like using emojis.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And so he's texting. He's texting the girl.
It's very cringy to watch him do it too.
Yeah.
Especially when you've seen how fucking eloquent he is.
Yes. So we find out he's dating, quote unquote dating, talking to the girl that we saw at the beginning with the nightclub.
Yeah.
That this guy like, she's like this attractive black girl.
Ugh. We never. Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not gonna get married, and then she gets married like in that episode.
Yeah, like on a whim.
On a
One
whim.
of those
We
people.
know nothing about these characters. We don't even know who this guy is. We don't know anything about this girl.
That's the point, though. It's she doesn't care.
Yeah.
She doesn't care.
Yeah, she doesn't care.
That's her whole
She's
thing.
22. She doesn't care, bro. Yeah. So then,
She doesn't care.
so then Dracula meets up with her in a graveyard, and then she
She's
wants
the perfect fruit, he says.
Yeah, because she just doesn't give a fuck. She doesn't
she
care.
doesn't care.
And
She's
she like
obsessed
wants
with
the
that.
vampire's kiss and
Yeah. Well, she likes the dream state, the opiate that it is.
And she shows him all the dead bodies and all the little little kid zombies that come out of the ground.
Yes.
And
He explains that some people don't die,
yeah,
which is like, I guess technically what he is, sort of.
yeah.
We'll get to that in
So
a minute.
so the last thing that I watched was her gay friend found her. The guy,
when she was like...
the gay guy found her in the graveyard,
Yeah.
passed out. She was
she
just
gets
passed out.
sick.
Agatha was in the cancer ward. Oh no, there's a scene where she drinks the blood. Agatha drinks Dracula's blood for some reason, and then she's in the hospital.
He really hints about it. Like I messed up the wording, but he says something that kind of intimates you should drink that.
Yeah.
Something about drink, like. I
So
don't know.
then she's in the hospital 'cause she has cancer, and then she starts to see Agatha.
Yeah, she starts to
And then that's when I stopped. That's when I stopped. That's when I left. And then so you have to take it from here.
I finished it. I thought it was really neat because he makes this whole point about she says to Agatha before he eats, because Dracula really has a lot of respect for Agatha because she's so clever, and he has this whole bit about like, you'll travel to the new world in my veins, and they keep repeating that throughout the episode. And then when Zoe drinks her blood, Agatha is coming into her in visions. I mean, she keeps hallucinating because she's dying anyway. And so now her hallucinations are filled with Agatha, her ancestor. And her ancestor's like, oh, that was really smart of you to drink the blood. Like, you know, and she explains, because we're connected via bloodline, you know, there's this sort of like collective consciousness almost that like, you know, that's how Dracula gets his powers. Like, you know, when he drinks people's blood, he absorbs the bloodline of that person essentially, and so like even like ancestral memories they have, he gets a vague understanding of. And so Dracula can do that to anyone, and she explains, because we're related, you see me more than anyone else. And so you know, Dracula has this whole thing about mirrors and seeing what's really in the mirror. He's like, vampires see a totally different thing in mirrors than humans do. And so now whenever Zoe looks in the mirror, she sees Agatha, or Agatha is next to her, or she looks like Agatha, or like whatever. Zoe's accent changes. She starts to sound like Agatha sometimes. Agatha starts to kind of take over Zoe's body in certain instances, especially when she has dealings with Dracula. So that girl that Dracula bit, that beautiful, the young lady, whatever, who doesn't care, she gets brought home. She's sick. Dracula comes back like the next day, and she's like, whoa, this is weird. Like, you don't normally visit me this often. He's been like feeding off of her like he does other people. It feels like he's in love with her. That bothered me for a long time. That's around the time you left. In this scene, you realize, nope, she's just like everyone else. He's been using her like he did Harker. And he's going to turn her into his bride. And she essentially becomes his slave. It's really fucked up. he does this thing where she's like, I'm dying. Like, what's going on? He goes, you're not dying. I wouldn't let you die. And he drinks all of her blood and like basically takes her brain. And like she's fully conscious in her body but can't do anything. And is technically dead but alive. She wanted to be cremated. And Dracula gives her this whole speech beforehand about don't cremate yourself. Don't let them do that to you. Don't waste your body. Don't do that. And so her family goes through with it still. They cremate her. And she's a fucking alive for the whole thing. She's like experiences the entire cremation, which is crazy. We cut back to Agatha. She's figuring some things out while this is going on. It's a pretty intense scene. She has this realization at some point. I forget what, but Zoe and Agatha go back and forth in her head about what it is about Dracula. Because Agatha really just wants to understand how Dracula works. Mm-hmm. And so they basically figure out what's wrong with him. And so there's the whole thing about Zoe dying. Everybody, Jonathan Harker, the kid that liked her, that we met for like 1 minute. Or I guess he isn't Jonathan Harker, but he's his descendant or something. He's really upset. He goes to see Zoe, and Zoe's like, hey, I can't keep loping around with my cancer, even though I'm dying. I have to do something to stop this guy. Dracula, I brought him into the world. He's my problem. I need to get rid of him. So they go and confront him, and then the girl comes back. The girl that burned alive comes up there, and there's this whole scene where she's like, I'm so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And it's fucking, they don't show her at all. So the whole time, I loved, it's shot cool. Like the ending is really cool. There's like 5 minutes where like we keep seeing her reflection, and she still looks beautiful, but we don't actually see her ever. And it's crazy, because the whole time I'm thinking, like, what the fuck does she look like? And then they have their whole exchange. Agatha and Zoe, it gets really confusing, tells the girl to take a selfie, and she does, and she sees that she's just like, we finally get to see her. It's fucking gross. I mean, objectively, a burnt corpse is gross. Mm-hmm. So she's a walking around burnt corpse. Props to the special effects and makeup people. That was really good. It was all practical, really cool. Gross moment. The kid kisses her because he loves her regardless, but he stakes her, kills her. She doesn't want to live like that anymore. Dracula doesn't give a fuck. He's like, oh, sweet. No, this is awesome. And she's like, will I look like this forever? And he goes, yeah, forever. She's like, no, I don't want to look like this. He's like, what's it matter? You're beautiful. Because what I love about Dracula, it's not a sexual thing at all. It's purely this weird obsession with like having a friend or something. Yeah. It's like this. It's like, no, you have the perfect blood. You have the best blood, and it's like his motives are really kind of hard to understand.
I also that's interesting that because she's like, I don't care, I don't care. I don't want to be beautiful. And then as soon as that's taken away from her, she's like, no, I'm not gonna be beautiful anymore. Like,
dude, she has this whole spiel about like when you're the pretty one, everyone smiles at you. And
Yeah.
That was so fake.
Yeah, she was talking to the gay guy. Yeah.
And then she gets burned and whatever. So
she doesn't really care. I mean, obviously,
no, she does.
Yeah,
care.
I mean, she does care. Like, she doesn't actually not care. She does care. Yeah, because you're a human being, and that's normal. And it's weird for you to say like, I don't care.
Like, I think Dracula's the weird one.
Yeah,
I think because he legitimately. Because we're gonna get to that in a second. Because long story short, Agatha's like, I figured it out. I know what makes you tick. And she's like, John, get out of here. And he leaves, and then she does this. The sun's rising, she pulls the curtains down, and she hits him with the sunbeam, and he freaks out. But he doesn't die. And he looks at himself, and he's like, wait, what the hell? And she's like, dude, listen, it's learned behavior. It's habits. It's you lived so long to have all these legends made up about you that you started to believe the legends themselves. The sun doesn't hurt you. You can walk in the daylight. You don't, you can do this and that. You don't need to be invited in. She's like, she has this whole thing about his father was a warrior. His grandfather was a warrior. His sons were warriors. He comes from a line of warriors in Transylvania.
Wallachia.
There are, master fighters and warlords. He was a warlord. But all of his brothers and fathers and grandfathers, they all died in battle. He did not die in battle. He never lost because he never surrendered. He would retreat, I guess. And so he spends his time skulking in the shadows. He doesn't want to die. She's like, the thing you're most afraid of is death. They do not, you get this sense that they're going to explain to you how Dracula became Dracula. They don't. it leaves you with so many fucking questions because she's basically like, the implication is he hid away from the sunlight so people couldn't find him so he could survive. And he had to skulk in the shadows to stay away from people and just gained this reputation for being this like skulking, sneaky, gross guy. And people began to create legends about him that he eventually began to believe just because, you know, the thing is, if he was in Bavaria, like going back to the boat, if he was in Bavaria when that woman he drank the blood of was younger, he would still know German. So that suggests that he forgets stuff when he lays dormant for long periods of time.
Also, it doesn't explain how the other people become vampires.
That's a whole... Dude, I know. They completely...
If the implication... Because that was my other thing was like, okay, so are they basically implying that him drinking the blood and then living forever is basically like a placebo effect? Like, that's kind of basically what they're implying.
That's what it seems
That's
like.
basically what they're implying is that, like, oh, you learned... you drinking the blood is basically you telling yourself,
because
like, oh, I'm going to live. It's like a placebo effect. But then how do other people become vampires and the undead? Like, they introduce all these supernatural things, and it's like...
And they don't touch on it.
Yeah, it's
at
like,
all.
Well, it's like, if you're going to debunk Dracula, well, then go all the way.
Go all the way, yeah. And the other thing, too, is, like... He doesn't even seem to actually need the blood to live. He seems to just need it to look young.
Yeah.
Because whenever he sees himself in the mirror, when he's alone in the room and sees himself in the mirror, he sees himself when he was all grody in the beginning.
Yeah.
This like decrepit, you know, he's 500 years old or 600 years old. He's fucking ancient. Yeah, they seem to suggest that that's exactly it. It's some weird, like, he just was so afraid of dying, he just couldn't handle dying, so he didn't die and somehow found a way to utilize necromancy and stuff to suck the life out of people and use that to keep himself looking like preserving his body with the life force of others. They kind of just it's a fun idea. It's a very dramatic scene. It's a really cool looking scene. It's a very well shot scene because at some point he starts to drink her blood and she's like, wait, if this is happening, you're drinking my blood. And he's like, yeah, of course I am. She's like, it'll kill you. And he's like, exactly. Because she has this whole thing about like, you're ashamed of yourself. That's the thing you fear the most. Because she's always like, because he uses other people's fears to manipulate them. And so Agatha's been kind of trying to find a way to use his fear to manipulate him because he's so evil. And she's like, your fear is of dying and you're ashamed of yourself because your whole warrior line were brave and proud and you're not. And so you'll live forever. Sure, you'll get to live forever. You'll get your wish to live forever, but it will be in shame for eternity. And he's like, you've totally reversed. Now this was my thing. This was why I didn't like it. Like, because he's like totally reverses his thinking in an instant. It's a total matter of perspective. I feel like they set him up to be this really fun, interesting, cool character, and it would have been awesome to watch him. And I think it becomes a matter of, is it a fear of dying or a lust for life? He never felt like he was afraid of death. He enjoyed the fucking hell out of being a vampire. Yeah. And that's what was so attractive about him was like, it's not that this guy's afraid of dying. It's that he loves living so much he's never going to give it up. And it's like a fun...
That's what it felt like, yeah, is that it feels like he just accepted being a vampire a long time ago. Like, because every vampire thing you see, it's like they start out liking it and then they hate it. It's like this dude just felt like he just accepted it a long time ago.
Yeah, he's been embracing it. Well, because they mentioned other vampires go crazy. They become feral. Yeah. And they lose their sense of being, and they either die or get killed by people because they have no control. Dracula has control. We mentioned earlier the episode model. It would have been fucking sweet. I think Farscape did this. There are some American TV shows that have done this, where you'll have the first 2 episodes are like that, an hour and a half long, but then every episode after that's like 30 to 40 minutes. Yeah. That would have been fucking sweet. We set up Dracula because the second episode in particular really sets up how smart, cunning, and badass this guy is. And it would have been so fun to get all of that information and then have like 10, 15 episodes of him just kicking ass in England. Yeah. All like 30 minutes apiece. Just little stories.
Well,
anyway, that was my big cap on Dracula. Yeah.
So that was our big cap on Dracula.
Going off kind of what we were saying in the first part of the episode, before we took the break about how
sometimes Hollywood can make great stuff, and then sometimes Hollywood can make Dracula.
like fucking Dracula, exactly.
And it's even worse because it's not that it's just bad; it's disappointing.
It's disappointing because it's almost inexcusable.
It started off great,
yeah,
and then it just got bad. Like it just became bad.
See, that's the thing is if you watch something like why am I forgetting the name of it? Gorilla Interrupted. If you watch something like that, you know what you're gonna get the moment you start it, and when you see it pull things off, it's so satisfying. When you watch Dracula, you think you know what you're gonna get
exactly,
and then it does what it did in the third episode, and you're like, fucking honestly, like I would have expected this from an idiot, not like I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know, that was harsh, but
it's it's a good example of like you know, Hollywood is not the standard. Big things are not the standard because Hollywood can suck just as much as like
as much.
I know independent film gets a lot of flack because some people don't have the resources and they don't have the best cameras or they don't have the best anything.
Let's face
but
it.
even if you do, it's like even if it is a big Hollywood production, it's like there's still tons of Hollywood films that come out that suck ass. Like they have the best cameras and the top A-list actors and the best cinematographers and directors. Like
the problem is when people see all of what you just mentioned and start to think, well, I should take this more seriously because of that, and so they start to like think on the side of not that you should be against the media you watch, but like people start to like they start to make excuses for it, if that makes sense. And it's like, no, don't. Just because it's high budget, still, you know, it's like, yes, it has all the floss of what like a professional, amazing production could be, but that doesn't mean that it was actually a well-crafted story. Yeah. Even though it looks amazing and feels amazing.
It's like it's just a bunch of makeup. That's all it is. It's just like a bunch of glitz and glamour.
Well, because I'll say like that final like. It was fucking cool to watch. It wasn't until I thought about it during the credits that I was like, actually, that was pretty lame. Yeah. In the moment, when you're watching that final scene, it's really beautiful. Like, especially when it goes into the vampire kiss, like, dream sequence, it becomes like...
It, like, tricks you, basically.
Yeah,
it's like...
it goes from live action to, like, this weird painting that's, like, shifting. This, like, rose. It's fucking cool. And it's, like, this very dramatic, almost, like, surreal experience. But then you think about the actual message, and you're like... Yeah, that was dog shit put into a present.
Yeah, it's a bunch of it's disguise. Yeah, it's just a bunch of it's like when we talk about Star Wars, right? It's like it's moving so fast.
Oh yeah,
it's moving so fast that you don't have time to think about it. It's like all this great cinematography and explosions and the plot's moving so fast that, like you don't have time to think about it. It's not till after when the movie's over when you sit down and you're like what the fuck did I just watch? Like in the moment you're like, this is great, and then like
see but what was so nice about Dracula is it doesn't that's what was so clever in how they did it. Is it doesn't feel like they're throwing a lot at you. It still feels appropriate, but it's because it's so like those scenes were well crafted. Yeah. So you're lost in the cinematography. You're kind of lost in this like whoa. But so it's not like it's the same idea of like we're throwing all this at you, but
Dracula was more slow. It took its time.
Exactly. They do such a good way of subverting that and like subtly doing it, so you don't realize that that's what's happening until the end. Yeah. Yeah. And
until the credits, and then you're like,
wait a minute.
What? Like, yeah.
So you hoodwinked me.
So you've already watched the entire show, and you're like, oh wait, like, and it's almost more malicious that they do it in the third episode because those first two episodes are great. And then you're on the third episode, and you're like, well, I guess I might as well just finish it. Like, I mean, like what you did, like where it's like, well, I guess I might as well just finish this.
That is so right. Yeah. That is so right.
They did it on the third episode, and then they know that, like, you know, the diminishing returns that you're like, well, I might as well finish it. I'm on the third episode. I might as well see it through to the end.
You know what's like, before we go on too long, you know what's really shitty about that? Quick note.
What?
Netflix has changed their policy or changed their viewing thing so that if you've seen the first 2 minutes of something, it counts as a full view. So even if you leave that third episode partway in because you think it's shitty, it still considers it a like, yep, you watched the show, so it's good. Yeah. Which sucks.
That's
because
really dumb.
It's to up their subscriber count or something. Like, I forget the reasoning behind it, but anyway, that's a topic for another time.
So like showrunners don't even need to like put that much, as long as they get those first 2 minutes good, those first 10 minutes good, probably. And like
I honestly feel almost like, because the first 2 minutes of the episode were pretty good, and then you have like a lull for about half an hour of like,
well, it's good until it gets to that disco part. It's like the first 10-15 minutes of the show, and then that's when it they were like, we have to make that good at least, and then that's, because that's that 10-minute rule, right? Where it's like that first 10 minutes, that's like the most important thing, because that's what's supposed to hook an audience.
Get me in.
Yeah, so like they got that first 10-15 minutes right, and then
after that
it just crumbles.
They don't need anything.
So overall, disappointing.
Yes, a real letdown. Letdown.
If you want to watch it, honestly, just watch those first 2 episodes, and then just have that. Just
realistically,
don't watch the third episode. Just have that like crazy cliffhanger of like, oh, he's in the future, and then just ends, and that's it. Like,
realistically, if you end it 5 minutes early, it's like such a cool. It's like a weird.
Yeah, if you have that ending
satisfactory.
shot, if you just. Cut out those last 5 minutes, and you just leave that ending shot of him looking at the church, like out. Just cut right there. You're fine. It's a great two-part miniseries. It ends abruptly, but you're like, you know what? Those two episodes are so good.
And then you just sit there fantasizing about what he'll get up to in England.
Yeah. Or if you want to have the stupid ending where the helicopter comes in, you could just be like, okay, well, that was kind of a bad ending, but those 2 episodes were so good. Like,
I can see some people enjoying it. I personally thought it was a huge letdown.
Yeah, I thought it was a huge letdown too. It
was a waste of a great character.
Waste of a great character. Waste of a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, he was. I mean, I'm serious. Like, even if he's still great, even in the terrible episode. He's like still the best part of the show.
No, he is
still
the
fun
show.
to watch. Like,
that's what I mean when I say it's him and Agatha. Their acting is so it's all about them, and it's great. The other characters are almost meaningless.
So yeah, that's our recommendation. Just watch those first 2 episodes. Don't watch the third one, and you're fine. That's it. If you really want to watch the third one, because
go for it. Yeah, explore it. But
yeah, those first 2 episodes are fantastic, kick ass.
It's good,
and then it just goes to shit by the end. Two great vampire movies, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Two great Dracula movies.
A sweet origin story, and then a cool adventure, like little bottle episode in a fucking boat. Where they just Dracula. You get to see Dracula just be awesome.
Yeah. Do you want to end it?
Yeah, I think, dude, we're at an hour 15.
Yeah.
We may as well just cap this.
Thank you for joining us again today. I know it's been a long time, but thank you guys for continuing to listening and sticking by. Our 18 subscribers.
Oh, fuck.
We have 18 now. We moved up from 17 to 18.
Hell yeah.
But maybe we'll get more because the Instagram. Follow the Instagram.
Maybe. Oh, I gotta talk to Coulter about that.
Yeah, that's the real ending of our discussion.
That's the real raw Dracula ending.
Goodbye.
Bye. I just tooted.